In our classical approach, we're not doing this. We're actually using a very old system, But we're not using it because it's old. Often told our students we have a great books program, not an old books program. We use it because they're great, because the system is great, because it is proven to move all of our hearts, minds, and souls to understand and encounter reality. And there is a sense of meaning, and there is a sense of joy that comes with that encounter with reality. The actual term classical refers to the time of the ancient Greeks and the Romans. And the way that this education developed was that as the Greeks developed their civilization, they found they had more time for leisure, less time that they simply had to produce food and crops and basic survival, and that they had time to look around at the world around them, and that they thought that was the best way to spend that time, to try to understand the realities of how things worked with a sense of wonder and awe, and then go on to measure, describe, and understand the truths about that world and about themselves. In fact, one of my very favorite moments in the entire Chesterton curriculum is the day that the students get to discover that the Greeks' word for leisure was actually the same as their word for school. This is how we get to spend our leisure time each day. Like the ancients, we'd study astronomy, geology, meteorology, biology, and physics. To see absolutely mind-boggling demonstrations of there, such as when Mr. Berlinger single-handedly demonstrates that he can make the entire planet Earth jump. We study the humanities, philosophy, to question, to look at the deepest questions of our existence, to study logic, to say, is something actually true? Does this make sense? We study our history and literature, to know who we are, where we came from, where we're going. St. Cardinal John Henry Newman said that literature is the autobiography of humanity. Study rhetoric and learn how to discourse and make points with civility and with clarity. And we study the arts to learn new skills, to have an appreciation of beauty and community. We also learn that the path to deeply rewarding accomplishments is sometimes very difficult. These are all facets, not all of, but facets of a classical education. And I always think there's an irony that sometimes we may think classical, and we were just talking about this at the table, that maybe we think maybe this sounds kind of old and stuffy and dusty, or sometimes there's a misunderstanding that accuses it of being narrow or narrow-minded in some way. But the great humor, the great irony of that is it's so incredibly broad. It encompasses all things, all subject, and it's so broad that it can even encompass the Cuban salsa. And it becomes even broader when we realize, as the ancients did, that all of these natural studies point us towards supernatural realities. We start to see that all of the earth is full of his glory, and all of our education is pointing us towards truth, and therefore the one who is truth, the person of Jesus Christ. I think there's great wisdom in the old Baltimore Catechism that said our purpose is to know God, love God, and serve God. And I think one of the points of that wisdom is the order of that. To know God, and that is what we're about in Catholic education, is to know him. And that's what we're seeking in every class, and that's what it means, that hallmark of an incarnational environment, opportunity to meet the person of Christ in every class at any point in time. And I've seen this with our students. Once they really know who he is, they, of course, then love him. And once we have truly loved him, then we and they go out and they serve him without any fear of being ridiculed for it. We're not here to reject and to retreat from the things that are going on in our society. I often have used the analogy, it's like a SEAL team. We want to pull back and have the hardest and strongest studies, but our students can go out on the hardest mission. We want our students to know him. We want them to know us. We want to know our students and care about them as individuals. And while we hope to foster a very beautiful, elegant evening tonight, there are a few evening points in the evening, we've tried to slip back that veil a little bit and see what those interactions look like the Cuban salsa, and to see what this interaction looks like. And so at this time, I would like to continue a tradition I started many years ago in our first gala, of demonstrating, of showing that interaction. Because to do this effectively, we need to know our students, and we work hard to get to know them. So if I could have Mr. Nolan Bober stand up, please. Mr. Bober. Mr. Bober is extremely versatile, has a careful, considerate observer of scenarios through a lens of logic, has a great sense of humor when something doesn't hold up to that logic. And he also has a great understanding of the call to achieve high levels of refinement and excellence and not simply surface-level achievement. Thank you for that, Mr. Bober. Miss Lillian Hefner. Miss Lillian Hefner, stand, please. Miss Hefner is a kind, gentle, and caring personality. She has so incredibly much capability and achievement, but it's veiled within this incredibly humble personality. Her humility and her vested interest in all of her conversations and the other people that talk to her truly make those other people feel like they are the great one. Thank you for that, Ms. Hefner. If I could have Miss Adeline Kennelly stand, please. Miss Kennelly has an incredible drive, competency, and poise under pressure that leads to success in all of her ventures, whether she's exercising a new skill or an area of prior expertise. She also has the great ability to synthesize ideas from many varied sources and articulate them passionately and clearly. Thank you for that, Ms. Kennelly. Mr. Ryan Long, stand, please. Mr. Ryan Long. In our junior class of many introverts, Mr. Long is our courageous extrovert. He has an unbridled enthusiasm and passion. And he also has a courage to open his heart to the joy-filled as well as challenging lessons that we learn and study on a daily basis that relate to our faith and our human condition. Thank you for that, Mr. Long. Ms. Fatima Mandujano. Ms. Mandujano also has a very quiet, kind, and humble demeanor. Ms. Mandujano has this incredibly deep dedication to her education and her faith, and this is demonstrated by her frequent, incredibly long drives just to attend this school. And the fact that amidst of these incredibly long back and forth drives from the LaSalle, Peru area, she never complains, but exudes a spirit of great joy and gratitude. Thank you, Ms. Mandujano. Thank you. Mr. Isaac McVeigh. Mr. McVeigh always immediately responds to any call to help out, a call to an opportunity to excel, to assist others, and he possesses this incredible strength and willingness to call others in to help and up to what they should be doing as well. He also has an incredible joy that is contagious. When you speak to him in conversations one-on-one, he has this with children too. I witnessed that earlier in this evening. And he always knows that which is right and good and is always respectful and reverent. Thank you, Mr. McVeigh. As we move through the rest of our juniors, Mr. Elijah Olson. Mr. Olson has a delightful sense of humor and has this welcoming demeanor that invites you into any group of people in a conversation with him. He has the ability to have encouraging and meaningful one-on-one conversations with brand new acquaintances. And he has a sincere desire to gain new knowledge and skills. Thank you for that, Mr. Olson. We'd have Miss Mary Russell stand, please. Miss Russell. Miss Russell has a low tolerance for nonsense and foolishness that may run in the family. But she also has this incredibly deep love for the beauty that is inherent in music and in poetry and in drama, and she responds to that with laughter and joy. She's willing to speak out about her perceptions and insights in classes around the school, and has a deep desire to call everybody to pull together in order together to achieve and discourse on the deeper and highest things of life. Thank you, Ms. Russell. Mr. Matthew Stoya, please. Mr. Stoya has a great concern for executing activities well and for doing that which is upright and honorable. He's incredibly conscientious and is always actively seeking to improve his skills and grow in his character. He also engages very willingly and joyfully about his thoughts and his insights, ideas, and his humor. Thank you for that, Mr. Stoya. Mr. Wyatt Uphoff, Mr. Wyatt Uphoff. Mr. Uphoff has this incredible enthusiasm for life, but is an enthusiasm that is calm and well-regulated. He has a mature perspective on life and goals and is able to respond to errors and falsehoods with a joyful, charitable, and at times even humorous urging towards truth and common sense. Thank you for that, Mr. Uphoff. Mr. Zielik Uphoff. Mr. Uphoff. He has a very visible, palpable enthusiasm for life and all of its offerings. And to me, Mr. Uphoff exemplifies the very, very best meaning of the term a childlike wonder. This wonder, I believe, is grounded in an incredibly deep knowledge and connection to nature as well as common sense. Thank you, Mr. Uphoff. And then finally, our last junior here for the evening, Mr. Caleb Wolford. Mr. Wolford. Mr. Wolford is an extremely diligent and already well-read student. He has a calm observation and reflection that is coupled to a very, very boisterous enthusiasm. And he often juxtaposes an exuberant reaction to material studies in classes, studied in classes, with a very quick recognition of the deepest truths that are revealed in those materials and those subjects. I also appreciate about Mr. Wolford that he is not afraid to be himself and let his personality shine through. Thank you for that, Mr. Wolford. It's very important to me that we recognize the students and to continue that tradition, to take the time to do that. Because the education really is about our students, helping to form them to be that person that Christ is calling them to be. I'll close my comments with another G.K. Chesterton quote. Chesterton says that one of the most necessary and most neglected points about this story called history is the fact that the story is not finished. The story is not finished. There's a future to this story. It goes on and it goes on into the future, and these students, they're going to be the characters in that story. And I've said this before, but it's so important to remember that in a few years, they're going to be in our seats. And in fact, some of them already are, starting their families, teaching our students, learning how they're going to raise their families, and starting to think about where they're going to send their kids. And I hope that you can see that they are doing their part to do this with honor and uprightness. And it's because of this and because of them that I'm not at all embarrassed or at all ashamed to ask you to join us and to be a part of this journey and support us in this journey. And in fact, they're not afraid to ask you for that either. Our last speaker of the evening is going to be Senior Miss Nora Velez. At this time, I'd like to invite her to the stage to share some of her comments about her experience for the past 4 years at Chesterton Academy of the Sacred Heart.